welcome to another exciting edition of Books and Banter, your Madonna Library's video blog on what the experts are reading. And oh, by the way, soon we're going to have some other experts, so Books and Banter now with more experts. It'll be great. My name is Eric Lucius, here coming to you from the Madonna Library in the Stacks once again. A little stiff, little brittle today. I got a wonderful, glorious sunburn yesterday. Thank you, Ohio, middle of September, at the Johnny Appleseed Festival, and horrible sunburn, so a little stiff, a little crickety today. I apologize for that. Also want to say hello to Jesse, who I understand is out in California. Thank you for tuning in. And who else is out there? Where else? I'm assuming most of these folks that are watching this are from Medina, but let me know where you're at. My email will be below the this episode, so shoot me an email. I'd love to hear from you. Okay. So today's episode, my assignment was to come up with a book that blew me away. And I have quite a few of them, and I wanted to come up with something a little bit newer. Some of the other ones that popped in my mind where I distinctly remember reading Stephen King's It and being horrified, not being able to sleep for a couple of days as maybe a junior high kid. Another one is, I've drawn a complete blank now, some of Tom Clancy's early books, especially Red Dawn Rising. One of my favorites. That was kind of the first adult books I started reading, I guess. Watership Down is one of my perennial favorites. One of those books I read as a 5th grader, as in 11th grade, and sometime in college as well. It's one of those books, every time I've read it, I get a little different perspective. One of my all-time favorites. I wanted to get something a little more contemporary for you. So, I chose Matterhorn, Carl Marlantes. This book has been out for maybe a year and a half or so, and it's just absolutely wonderful. Now, I had a very unique experience. I actually listened to this book. It's a pretty big book. It runs about 600 pages. There's a lot of dialogue and stuff, but this is one, you're not going to tear through this guy. I listened to the audiobook. The narrator was one Bronson Pinchot, and anyone that's from the 80s remembers him as Balky Bartakamos from Perfect Strangers, and he is awesome. I've never heard any other book he's narrated. I don't know if he's ever done any other audiobooks, but just incredible with the voices and the inflection. One of the best narrators I've had, and I've listened to a lot of audiobooks, and he is towards the top of the list by far. So, all right, having said that, my little plug for Balky there. It's a novel about Vietnam. Now, the story behind this is Marlantes, who is a decorated Vietnam veteran. It took him 30 years to write this guy. Started out at 1,600 pages, and he got down to 600 pages. I think the moral of that is that he took his time. He wasn't rushed. He wasn't rushed by his publisher. He wasn't, didn't feel any outside influences to just hurry up and write something and get it done and get it out. He obviously took his time and put a lot of thought and meaning to this book, and you can tell it. You can tell it. At the heart of it, it's about a company of Marines who build, they then abandon and retake an outpost during Vietnam called Matterhorn. And it's really about the characters. It's about the emotions they go through and the battles on the battlefield and the personal battles they encounter. And it's just a whole cast of characters, really. It's one of those ensemble casts. That's one of the drawbacks. If you do read any reviews, that's one of the things people say about it, is that it's so hard to keep track of everyone and the military, the ranks and everything. But I think it just adds to the authenticity and the flavor of this book. It's told from the perspective of Mellis, who's a 2nd lieutenant, and it's not one of those books where it's constantly action, it's constantly combat. In fact, the combat scenes, well written and everything, but they're not really what drew me to this book. One of the quotes I heard about this from some of the other reviews was that it's a book about combat and not war. And war isn't constantly fighting and constant gun battles and everything. It's about the monotony, the day-to-day life, the trudging through the hills, the lack of food, the diseases you encounter, and all that goes along with it. And that's what really makes this book such a wonderful, great book. I highly, highly recommend you get this. Have this with a nice vintage port. Kick back as it starts getting chilly with your glass of port, a little dark chocolate to go along with it. Take your time with this. You're not going to fly through it. You're going to want to absorb this just like a vintage port. Wonderful book. Highly advise getting a hold of this one. Okay, a couple other things I've been reading. I'm almost finished with this guy. Dustin Thomason's 1221. The theme is the Mayan long calendar, which is set to expire on December 21st of 2012, which kind of some folks will take as the end of the world. So that's kind of the drive behind this book. Very quick read, very thrilling, energetic, Michael Crichton-like. Absolutely, Michael Crichton fans are going to love this book. But it flows really, really well. have this guy with a nice Riesling. Here's a little tip for you folks that are more sweet wine drinkers. Try a Riesling. Rieslings come in all kinds of wonderful styles, from dry to super sweet. Try to get yourself a Spatlese or an Auslese, a German Riesling. Just nice and crisp. It'll keep you going as you try and hammer through this book. You can probably do this in one night if you really set your heart to it. Just a great book, real quick read. Another one, Bad Little Falls, Paul Dorman. Not quite sure how you say the author's name. One that I almost gave up on at first, but I learned to really like this book. What I like about this is the characters. The characters are real. One thing I don't like about a lot of thrillers is that the characters and the villains are so supernatural almost that you can't relate to them. They're all super strong and buff, and bench press 500 pounds, and move buses and things like that. And they know they're black belts in every type of martial arts you can think of. Not so in this book. All the characters are really relatable. There's not a big showdown at the end with lots of guns and police flying everywhere and missiles and explosions. It's just a very calm book. Almost like one of those closed room mysteries. It's set in Maine during the winter, huge snowstorms, so all the characters right off the bat. And eventually the mystery plays out. Very good book. This is the second book. I might look at picking up the first one as well in that series. Finally, a couple new books just to throw out at you, fresh on the shelves. We have The Last Headbangers by Kevin Cook here. It's about the NFL in the 70s. Any football buffs, football season in full effect, pick this guy up. A nice little book about the development of the NFL as we know it today. Really talks about, I guess, from my perspective, is the change in the game. Now it's passing and yardage and big numbers and like that. Back then it was that running, grinded out type of style football. So nice little nostalgic look. And last one, Bob Woodward's newest one, Price of Politics. Woodward's done a lot of good political fiction, or nonfiction, I'm sorry. A lot of good expose type books throughout his career. He's been around a long time. Haven't read this book, good reviews on it, so I suggest pick it up. Okay, that's it. Thank you for staying with me a little bit longer today. This Saturday, Storytelling Festival in Medina. October 20th, Paranormal Festival here in Medina. Ghost hunters, ghost hunting equipment, all that good stuff. Join us then. All right. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you at the library.